Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
This really does happen to all of us. I love that she's hydrating. That was a reminder that we all need to hydrate more. Where's my? Oh, here it is. Got it here. Seltzer water. Um,
Cheers.
First of all, we need to hydrate. But second of all, we all deal with making decisions in our daily life, and we all wrestle with it. We want to make the right choice. We worry about making the wrong choice. But here's the thing: we know the answer. And I'm going to leave it at that. We all have the answer. It's finding the answer within. And that's what we're going to help you with today. She's a mindset specialist, a wellness coach, and she's back with us. And we have made that executive decision to talk about decisions today. Lieya Mariano is with us. Welcome back. How are you?
Oh, thank you. I'm doing excellent. Absolutely wonderful. I am very, very much enjoying this California sunshine. Thank goodness it has returned to us.
That's one thing. Doesn't it just make you feel good when the weather's nice? You get a bright, sunny day. It's crisp. It's nice. It's not too hot, right?
You get to be outside. You get to enjoy the time outside. You don't have to rush from your car into wherever you're going to avoid spending time outside.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's wonderful. If you can go for a walk, if you can spend time absorbing some beautiful vitamin D, get that good, healthy, lovely grounding.
Can I share? I don't mean to cut you off, but
no, please go. Yeah.
Vitamin D. So I found out recently, due to, I truly believe, stress, that my vitamin D level was almost non-existent, like way low. And I didn't know how much that vitamin impacts your thinking, your clarity, all of that, your mood, all of that, but also the absorption of other vitamins. So now I literally have a prescription for vitamin D. It's so potent. You take it once a week and you're good. And even a day later, I started feeling better. Like, yeah, all right. So if you're, find yourself, and I think I eat okay.
Go on. I have a response to that, not to brag.
Kind of foggy. Vitamin D. Now, what were you going to say?
Well, not to one-up you, kind sir. That is never my intention. I actually, ironically or coincidentally, went to the doctor and had some lab work done, and she said, "Your vitamin D levels are perfect. Never in all of my years have I seen someone with such a high vitamin D. And how do you do this?" She asked me.
Wow.
Yeah, that's so funny that you say that. I was just recently praised for my vitamin D.
Oh my gosh, give me some of that. Give me some of that.
But to what you're saying, I go outside. I don't live my life in a stressful state.
Yeah.
I eat really well. I am very mindful. Vitamin D is actually a hormone. Did you know that?
I did not. And that's now I know why it's so important. But I truly do know, due to some circumstances, that it was stress that knocked it down, and some other things too. So, that was the wake-up call. Got to make some adjustments and move it forward. Part of that probably comes from making decisions and making the right decisions.
Probably. You just need more of me in your life.
Yes.
I'm here to help you.
And prescription vitamin D.
There you go.
When it comes to making decisions, why do we wait? Why do we marinate on them? Why don't we, pull a trigger sooner? What do you think?
Yeah, indecisiveness, right? I think we all have periods in our lives where we really struggle with indecisiveness. I think you and I may have touched on this in one of our previous episodes. I think we used the example of what to wear for an event, if memory serves me. I think that's coming back. Yeah, so the unsure, the state of being unsure, of not knowing what is the best route to take. And this could be in a situation or circumstance related to something super simple, like what should I have for dinner? That's that comes up all the time, right? And then it could be something larger, like do I want to change jobs? Do I want to I've been given this opportunity to maybe make a more dramatic life-altering decision, like change where I live. Do I want to do that? Do I not want to do that? We talk about things like pros and cons lists and things of that sort to try and establish a semblance of clarity with regards to what is the right decision. But that state of unsureness, from what I've been able to develop through, yes, of course, education, but also experiences, a lot of us find ourselves in a state of being unsure because we fear a negative result. We find ourselves not sure of whether or not the option A or option B is what is, quote, better for us. If we were able to explicitly and very clearly be given that answer much sooner, well, this route is clearly better for me, then obviously there is no decision. The decision is made for us. So, how do we cut to the chase and get to that? I know that this is what will serve me best. How do we do that? Right? That feels more complicated or more involved than it may actually be. Do you have any idea? Hearing that, do you have any idea? Do you have a semblance of what that could look like in being able to identify how I find a feeling or a sense or a clarity as to whether or not a decision would be, quote, better for me than something else?
I do. I
What
do.
do you think? What do you think? I'm curious.
It's your subconscious knows the answer. It's well aware, but all the stuff around you gets in the way. And what you need to do is find a way to quiet all the other stuff so you can hear the answer, but also at the same time, trust in the answer, trust in your, call it your gut feeling, your intuition. And you said before, make a decision, what to have for dinner tonight. Use that as a testing point, those simple little decisions. All right, what do I want? Thinking about it now, what am I feeling? Where should I go? And just get the answer right away. Instead of thinking, well, I should do Italian. No, I don't know. Chinese could be good. No, go. A lot of times people say, go with the first answer. That is the one. Don't think about it. That is the right answer. But we don't, because logic gets in the way. Even if it's an important decision, and it can't be that easy. And now you've just made it hard. Does any of that resonate with you?
Oh, A plus plus. Gosh, how'd you get so smart, Steve?
I'm taking vitamin D.
Man, so good. Take that vitamin D. Yes. Yeah, 100%. God, I don't even need to be here. Yes,
Yes,
absolutely.
you do. Yes, you do, because I mastered it. I still question myself. I still try to hear the voice within, and I don't hear it.
I,
It's sometimes, I get a feeling, and especially when it's not an answer you want, then you wait on it. It's like,
right.
I know the answer, but maybe not. It's
We tend to get in our own ways, don't we?
it's painful.
Yeah, yeah. But to everything you said, I mean, that's 100% right. Going back to the dinner conversation, obviously, I mean, I started as a nutrition coach years ago, and I get a lot of questions still to this day pertaining to food and healthy habits and choices. And sometimes we know if we have that extra couple scoops of ice cream, we're not going to feel super good about ourselves afterwards. And you know this. So yet you sit with, oh, should I have the ice cream? Should I not have the ice cream? It's like, well, if you make the choice wholeheartedly and you say, in spite of the fact that I may have to walk an extra mile tomorrow in order to feel better, or I know that, I'm going to wake up going, oh, dang, I ate a little too much of that pasta. Like, you're going to have that reaction. If you own it and go, yeah, but you know what? It's my friend's birthday. I'm going to eat all the ice cream. It's okay today. I'm going to go in this and be 100% confident in my decision. You're not going to emotionally have that same remorse. You're just not. It's that weird place, that weird gray area. I coach a lot of clients, and I'm actually coaching a couple college students right now. And my advice for them is, with any decision you make ever in life, it's either a heck yes or a heck no. And if you're in this weird kind of a gray area where you're not quite sure, then you need to figure out what you need to do to arrive to that heck yes or heck no. Because then, in spite of the consequence, you're going to have a semblance of resolve and accountability already implemented in whatever that handling that consequence requires. And that could be a good consequence or bad consequence. Consequence doesn't necessarily need to be a negative thing. Every decision we make invokes some semblance of consequence. Everything has an effect, right? But if you go into making your decisions and say, gosh, you know what, in spite of this potential, I'm going to feel good about it, you can't go wrong, firstly. And that's easily applied to, what am I going to have for dinner? Am I going to go the healthier route, the not healthy route? Am I going to indulge? Am I not going to indulge? Am I going to stick to balancing my macros, stay in my caloric deficit, or go, you know what, I'm going to have a bacon cheeseburger and it's going to be great? You're going to feel good about it.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong.
You may think to
Nothing
yourself,
wrong.
I deserve it. I've been
Yeah.
good. I deserve it. When you're stuck, as many of us are,
Mm,
in between the heck yes and heck no,
mm.
how do you get out of it?
Yeah. So, I love that because that cuts straight to the chase. So there's, depending on the situation, obviously, because there's heavier circumstances that may seem a lot more intricate, like we talked about earlier, like, oh, I'm offered this new promotion, but I have to move from California to Atlanta, Georgia. Do I want to uproot my family and, start over in this new place? Gosh, that seems like a lofty situation. Is it worth it? Should I do it? I have this fear, blah, 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 right? Most of the time, anything that keeps us in that unsure state has to do with fear. It has to do with some semblance of living in what I call a pessimistic future as opposed to an optimistic one. It has to do, frankly, with worrying that I'm not in some way living in purest, fullest alignment with my true self, my goals, my values. The more that we have a strong sense of how we define our moral compass, how we describe and assign value to how we navigate our lives, usually, if you know how you measure karma, if you believe or don't believe in karma, is my decision to do this going to negatively affect someone else? No, it's not. Okay, great. Is my decision to do this in alignment with my very prioritized values, my honoring my family, my prioritizing my career goals, my how I assign, myself these healthy habits? If you go down the list and check all those boxes, the decision becomes really very, very clear as to whether you should or shouldn't do whatever it is that you're contemplating doing. Are you living in alignment with your truest, purest self, your intentions? What do I want out of this? And those questions seem big, but they're honestly, when you sit with them and when you practice sitting with them, it becomes easier and easier. And then you find yourself, living in this state of, it doesn't feel like decisions anymore. It gets very cut dry. It's very, does this progress me to where I ultimately need to go based on all these things I've previously decided for myself? Yes or no? And then you move forward with honoring that. And again, continuing to live with intention.
Do you feel that a lot of us get, for lack of a better description, confused because we don't have all the facts in front of us? And I call it the scale of life. When it's one of those difficult decisions where there's a lot of impact, moving because of a job, there's a lot of moving parts
Mm.
that we should just write it down. Here's the pros, here's the cons. Bam, 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 bam. Okay. Now I'm seeing it clear instead of it, and it goes back to what I described before, where you can't make the decision because you've got all this going on in your head and it's bouncing back and forth, this, that. Now it's in front of you. Now you have it crystal clear. Now you can make a better decision. You can get a better feel. It's in front of you. You can't deny it. Here's the pros, here's the cons. It came out of your head. So now it feels more comfortable to give it a heck yes or heck no.
Right, right. And there's something that I think one of a really common decision that gets difficult for people to navigate can sometimes be whether or not to stay in a certain relationship. That's a really difficult one for a lot of people, right?
I don't
People
know. Are
have
you reading my mind?
I felt it. I could sense it. I could absolutely sense it. I can absolutely sense it. Um
Hmm.
how do we make decisions? How do we make decisions pertaining to get divorced? That's a huge
Sure.
obstacle for a lot of people. How do we make decisions? We're dating somebody and it's somewhat new. I can kind of sense it's not right. Do I stay? Do I go? How do we make that decision for ourselves? How do we decide? That can be a really, really a difficult one for a lot of people. So how do you have how is this resonating with you? I'm curious because I can tell that it is.
I'm just glad you talk because I don't have that answer. And
Okay.
that is a tough one. But again, I truly believe it goes back to you already know the answer.
Mm-hmm.
And those probably are the tougher ones because there's emotion attached to it, where
Mm-hmm.
you don't want to make that decision. Either you just want to let it go for now, or you're afraid to make the decision, but you know what the answer is.
Yeah, emotions tend to clog us. We tend to get stuck in this cycle that is usually fairly governed by our emotions. Absolutely 100%.
Yeah.
Um I for my own personal, I'm just going to say this personally, and I would coach this a little differently depending on the person. So we can talk about that as well. But for
Sure.
me personally, just to share, I choose to be in a space where I want everything I'm doing or experiencing or being involved in some way lead to aiding in my own personal growth and development. So my choice in partner really has a very strong attachment to the idea of, do you inspire or invoke me to be the type of person that I want to be? Are you in alignment with the habits and tendencies? Do you inspire me? Not necessarily inspire me to change in the sense that, oh, he inspires me to want to make me a better human. Not quite that, but more so, does my being with him keep me in my path of progressing and improving the way I want to continue to progress and improve. Some examples of that can be similar lifestyle choices, working out, obviously the same values, the same ideas of, how we choose to navigate conversations and communications, both with ourselves as well as external relationships. Those are some examples, but really for me, it's, yeah, do I love who I am when I am in this relationship? And I do believe, and I know it's cliche to say, but you do have to love who you are without that person as well.
Oh yeah. Uh,
But yeah, it's for me personally, and again, there's different ways to look at it, different ways to navigate it. But for me, I chose my partner based on, do I love who I am when I wake up in the morning, being with this person and our life together and what that looks like and how we navigate us and how we continue to navigate our independence. Is that me being my best self?
and you both have the same relationship goals at the same time.
That's
Because,
important. Oh, that's a very easy one. Yeah, I
yeah,
wasn't quite talking about criteria and choosing a partner. That's a different
sure.
conversation, but yeah.
Yeah, but some people are in a different space, different place at one time, and in a different time it may look totally different if you fast forward like 2 years, three, whatever it might be. But
Mm-hmm.
it's got to be the same kind of progression. Um, when you say in that we're talking about relationships here, when you're going to be, you want to feel fulfilled, like you're doing what you want to do in life. Does that also mean within the relationship? Like you want to give something in a relationship, but if it doesn't feel right, 100% right, then you're not being true to yourself.
Yeah, that's exactly what I meant. Thank you. That was a really eloquent, much more concise way of putting it. I tend to be rather long-winded. Yes,
But you're
exactly.
but you're clear though, and that's the most
Good.
important.
Thank you. Appreciate the validation. Yeah, no, exactly. It's because you can always tell. You, like you've said this entire time, you have to honor what the subconscious mind knows to be true, and you have to be available and receptive, able to receive that information. and it gets very easy for that to get diluted, and we don't quite we're not as open or receptive to it for a number of reasons. Really connecting with your truth, really knowing yourself, really quieting what I call the gremlins, that prevent you from being able to hear what you do ultimately know, what resonates inside you as truth. The more we can connect to that, again, that goes back to everything we're talking about with decisions, the clearer your road would be. But yes, when you're with someone and you're even having the thought, should I stay or should I go? Is this right? Is it not right? Even simply questioning that says that there is something that needs to be addressed, because your subconscious mind, you would not be even receiving it as a question
Mm.
if you didn't have an underlying understanding that something isn't quite clicking. That is not to say, however, that just because you consider divorcing your husband or wife, that you should divorce them. That's not what I'm saying.
Right.
But something is obviously, there is a semblance of discomfort and unsureness, which is why you're even asking the question. So I personally believe that there is something that needs to be addressed, and maybe you're able to navigate that and work on it together, and then everything is beautiful. You can ride off into the sunset and you're forever bliss. I do think that is entirely possible.
Is there different tiers? Like, for example, let's say, and I'll make it real simple. Let's say you're not so happy with your job,
Mm-hmm.
and now we're saying heck yes or heck no.
Mm-hmm.
So immediately it's like, yeah, you know what? I'm going to text my boss right now. I've had it. Well,
Well, I
before
mean,
you do that, you know,
yeah,
and again, this goes back to, either you're not being treated fairly, you're not being paid enough, there's issues, whatever they may be. You've identified, I got it now. Yeah, this is not right. This does not align with me. I'm better than this. You know,
right.
and I don't say that often, but let's say, it's not about ego. It's, I can do better. But
Yeah.
to fire off that text, to tell the boss off or whatever it might be, you need to take the proper steps.
Of
Like,
course. Yeah. So because again, because so when you're really living in alignment, actually, gosh, yeah, I wish we had more time. I always wish I had more time with you. Um, because living in alignment with your truest self will also dictate how you handle that conversation.
hmm,
So it literally living in alignment with who am I and how do I want to navigate the world? Do I care about how I affect people? Do I care about, right? If you're choosing to say, well, what is the consequence of this, be it negative or positive? Telling your boss off is probably going to have some semblance of a negative consequence.
right.
So right there, that's not the best way to handle that situation. Really, if we're going, how am I a person that handles situation with grace, with kindness, going back to that beautiful Buddhist principle that I am trying to implement in every aspect of my life. Before I speak, is it true? Is it necessary? And is it kind? That is how I choose to move forward in any and every form of interaction or communication I have. So even if I'm fed up with my job, I can't I can't trigger a change with a negative or potentially chaotic or something that could be considered reckless or irresponsible, because all of those things are going to come back and directly negatively affect probably me if not someone else in a bad way. So I would try, and again, before you do anything, you ask yourself those questions.
So I have a question,
Yes.
the universal question. So
Yeah.
whether it's thinking about, a relationship, a job, whatever it might be, do you, and this is your opinion,
Hmm.
do you feel that if you don't make a change or act on your gut, your intuition,
Hmm.
are you blocking what you really want from coming in?
Yes. As you see, there's no hesitation in that. That's a
That's
yes.
a, that was
Heck,
a
heck yes.
yes. That was a heck yes.
Why? Because and now, because with all my practice and all my self work, I don't have to reflect on that, because I know in good faith and in confidence, if something inside me says, huh, wait a second, if I don't listen to that, almost every single time I don't listen to that now, I go, dang, I knew it. I had that sense. I had that thought. I had that moment.
I could go back, Leia, decades, and
Yeah.
I can picture myself life-changing
Mm,
decisions,
mm,
knowing I'm making the wrong decision,
mm.
but I felt I needed to make a certain decision at that
A
time. I knew it
safe decision. It was probably a
was
safe
safe
decision. It
at the moment.
probably came down to fear. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Yeah. Worry.
With it's like you're all in at a certain point. It's like, well, I'm here now, so all right, let's just go with it. It's the wrong decision. I could
Mm-hmm.
tell you where I was, the angle of the sun. I'm talking 25 years ago.
Oh gosh. Well, I hope at some point you've made some peace and resolve with yourself
Oh,
and with
totally,
okay,
totally.
good, good.
What it did was made me realize that you got to listen what's going on
Mm-hmm.
there. And that's what I wrestle with now. If you don't make the decision that is true to yourself, are you blocking what should be coming your way? And I agree with you. And
And
that's
I need to say one more thing about that. For us, for us as humans, for us as creatures that all share this planet together, most of the time, the decisions that are best for us individually tend also to be better for the greater good of all those around us. It's extremely rare, and I would even feel confident in saying almost always
yeah,
the decision that serves us the best also serves the betterment of the entire situation circumstance.
yeah,
And that's a very profound thing to sit with, because then you really are living in truest that you're doing absolutely the best you can for the sake of yourself and for the sake of others. And in that state, you cannot do wrong. You
when
cannot do
you
wrong.
when you think deep about those decisions that are weighing on you, and you think of it that way,
Hmm.
it makes it even clearer and gets you closer to the heck yes.
And then alleviates that fear, it alleviates that worry, it alleviates the questions, it alleviates that state of unsure. If you can bring it down to, does this serve myself as well as the betterment of the situation?
Mm.
Yeah, that heck yes is going to come real quick, and it's going to feel darn good.
I wish we had more time.
Me too. Always, always.
It's
Give
like
us more
I,
time, Steve.
I feel like we start, and this was just the introduction,
I know. We just
right?
get going. Yeah.
How if somebody is trying to harness the power of their intuition, their gut feeling, and all of that, just
Yeah.
navigating life, making the right choices, they feel kind of stuck, and they want to work with you or just kind of figure it out. How does that begin?
Yeah, please go to my website, hhlifewellness.com, or shoot me an email straight away, coach.leya, Lieya, at hhlifewellness.com.
Yeah, there's lots to talk about. I'm sure we'll get to it next time we get together. And
Please.
we skimmed the worry part. We didn't get deep into that. Yeah,
Darn it.
next time. Uh,
Next time.
always a delight talking with you.
Same. Likewise, Steve.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
a
Have a
lot.
wonderful rest of your day.
You too.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
Mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes. and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.